Welcome, everybody, to this introduction to sharks, hosted by the National Wildlife Federation, Eco Schools US, and in collaboration with Sharks for Kids. I am Jennifer Hammonds. I'm the Director of Education at the National Wildlife Federation, and I'm going to pass it to my dear friend, Jillian Morris.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone who's joining us. I'm really excited to talk to you today. And yes, if you do have questions, which I am more than happy to answer, please go ahead and pop them in the chat in the Q&A section, and we will answer those at the end. So do our best to get through as many as possible. So make sure you put your questions there as we're going along. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen with you. So my name is Jillian Morris. I am a marine biologist. I live in Bimini in the Bahamas, and I'm also the founder and president of Sharks for Kids. So I spend a lot of time teaching students, just like yourselves, all about why these animals are awesome, important, and interesting. And the reason I'm in the Bahamas is because we have a lot of sharks. It's a great place to see these animals, to spend time, to study them, to learn about them. And some of you may have seen shows on TV that feature kind of beautiful clear water and some of these animals. And it was probably filmed in the Bahamas. So I do spend a lot of time with these animals. I've traveled all over the world to work with sharks, to study them, to dive with them. And I do spend a lot of time in the water, scuba diving or free diving, taking photos and videos, hanging out with these awesome animals. I also work on different research projects to catch and tag sharks to study them in a different way, and do a lot of programs teaching students either in classrooms or virtually about these awesome, amazing, and important animals. And I like to show this photo because this is a very large great hammerhead shark. And a lot of times people are very afraid of sharks. They're certainly afraid of very big sharks. And I think this is just a great image to show that we can have safe, for both me and the shark, for humans and the shark, interactions with these animals. And you'll see I've got a camera in my hand inside a case to take photos and videos. This is Scylla. It's a specific shark that I've spent a lot of time with. She's also my favorite animal on the planet. So that's one of the ways that I work with and spend time. I mentioned research. Our current project is Project Lemonade. So you can see this is just actually taking some measurements. You guys can stay tuned. We're going to have another webinar with National Wildlife Federation in April, talking more about shark science. So if you're interested, make sure you stay tuned for that one. So we're measuring around the little lemon shark to see how big around its girth. And then we're taking length measurements. And this is part of the data that we collect when we catch these little sharks. And then we'll tag them and let them go. So again, I spent a lot of time in the water teaching students as well as studying and tagging sharks. But today we're going to focus not on my work, but these important, awesome animals. So if I asked most people to draw a picture, describe to me what a shark looks like, they'd probably draw something like this. Hopefully you're guessing or shouting, great white shark. They are iconic, very well known. They're on lots of TV shows, kind of the rock stars of the shark world. If you only know one species of shark, it's probably that one. All right, big, beautiful animal. But actually, there are over 500 different species of shark. And while, yes, some of them look like that great white, most of them do not. All right, so over 500 different species. They're weird, they're wonderful, they're amazing, different colors, different patterns, different sizes, shapes, and different habitats. So when we think of sharks, most people will think of that shape, that torpedo shape, pointy nose, big dorsal fin. But it's important to realize that actually there's a lot of species of shark that don't look anything like that. They're also found in a variety of habitats. So it could be seagrass beds, Definitely coral reefs at different depths and in different locations, the sand bottom, the open ocean, or the mangroves. We have a lot of mangroves here in the Bahamas, and that's that top right image. And they act as a nursery area because all of those roots sticking down allow lots of small animals to get in and seek refuge and find food while it keeps away bigger animals. So it's a great place as a nursery for a lot of young animals, including sharks, turtles, conch, which are big snails, lobster, and reef fish. Sharks may also move from different habitats as they grow older. So you might have gone to one school when you were younger, and then you keep going to different schools as you get older. Well, some species of shark will do the same thing. Little lemon sharks start their life in the mangroves, then they're going to move further out into the seagrass beds, and then they'll start migrating further into deeper waters. So think of it like going to different schools throughout their life. Now, sharks have been around in some form for over 400 million years. Yes, they were around before dinosaurs and trees. Right? That is remarkable. They're a fascinating animal, not the same versions we have today, but some form of shark has been around for that long. Right? So really, really incredible, interesting, fascinating animals. Right? So I want you to think for a second, what type of animal is a shark? Right? And there's probably two different answers you're thinking. The first one is mammal. The second one is fish. Or you might not be sure at all. Right? You might have no idea. What are they? But the most common answers are mammal or fish. And they are a species of fish, a type of fish. So fish, you might be thinking, wait a minute, I've either eaten fish, I've caught a fish, I've been to an aquarium, I've had a pet fish. They seem very different, and you are correct. Sharks are actually very different than other species of fish. And the first thing that makes them different is their skeleton. A really fun trivia question you can ask an adult in your life: how many bones do sharks have? Or a friend. And they're probably going to give you all these numbers. And on the right, you see fish bones. That's the skeleton, just like our skeleton. Sharks, however, do not have any bones in their body. 0 bones. They have a skeleton made of cartilage. Same thing in our ears, the end of our nose. They are cartilaginous fishes, right? So that cartilage is very flexible. That's what the inside of a shark fin looks like on the left. And it's lighter than bone. So this is part of the reason that they don't just sink to the bottom of the ocean, but it also helps them with their movement. So this is just, there's a lot of text on here, but just to kind of show you a little bit of their taxonomy when we talk about they are fish, but then we talk about difference, okay? And sharks and rays are related, and this can kind of go right through. You can look, and it goes right down to genus and species of how we get our great hammerhead name, in my opinion, the most amazing animal on the planet. If you look at the outside of a fish, you see scales, those shiny silver discs we see in that photo on the right. And if you, again, you've seen a fish, you've caught a fish, you've eaten fish, you've encountered the scales. That protection of the fish helps it move as well. If you look at the skin on the left of the shark, you don't see those. And a lot of people think, well, shark skin must be very smooth. It's not. It's extremely rough. Think of a nail file or sandpaper. If you've not ever felt those things, find some at school or at home and feel it. Don't rub it too hard because you'll probably scratch your fingers, but that's the idea of what a shark skin feels like, particularly if you rub from the back, the tail, towards the head, because you're catching the edges of their dermal denticles. Sharks are covered in microscopic teeth called dermal denticles. Our human eyes cannot see them, but we're using CT scans to actually look at these beautiful animals up close. And these dermal denticles are really strong. They also help the sharks move through the water. If you'll notice, they almost look like they have some grooves, lines on them, or they're very, very smooth, right? So this is allowing the water to pass over the shark. If we all are going to go swimming after this call, you're probably going to put on a wetsuit, a rash guard, a swimsuit, something designed for the water. You're not going to put on jeans, boots, a big jacket, a sweatshirt, a hat, and jump in the water, right? We have special clothes for swimming. Well, sharks don't pick an outfit, it's built in. So this makes them really, really hydrodynamic, allows them to move through the water. And if you look on the right, the porbeagle and the short fin mako, you'll notice those denticles are really tightly packed together, right? Those sharks are faster, right? And look at the shape of them, right? So one of the things I want you to notice today as we're going through this, you can actually tell a lot about a shark, even if you don't know what species it is. All right, so I'm going to challenge you. You all get to be shark scientists today and use the things that you observe and see and take them when you see another shark, whether it's on TV or in a book, you don't know what species it is. I bet you're going to be able to tell some things about that animal. We'll get more into it in a bit. But first off, that porbeagle shark and that mako shark, they're built for speed, right? Much faster than the cat shark and the leopard shark on the other side, right? Short fin mako is the fastest shark in the ocean, and their food is fast. Think of tuna, wahoo, mackerel. And if your food is fast, you better be fast. All right, if your sandwich was running around the school today and you're just walking trying to catch it, it's gone. There goes lunch. You're done. All right, so if you're an animal that's food is fast, you have to be fast. Whereas if you're a shark that is eating things like maybe crabs or snails, not so fast, you don't have to worry about your super speed. And this is just a close-up scan of a leopard shark. So using this technology to actually study and understand these animals, how they move. And it's actually been mimicked to make Olympic swimsuits, even some materials for cars, because it's so efficient in the water. So how does that work and why? So that we can model things after it. Males and females. So we're going to talk about fins, but the last difference between fish and sharks, or other fish and sharks, is sharks have internal fertilization. They do not spawn. They do not lay thousands of eggs like fish do. Males have claspers, which are finger-like extensions on the pelvic fins, the fins underneath. Females have the cloaca, but they don't have the claspers. So if you're ever snorkeling somewhere, you're at an aquarium and a shark swims over you, very easy to tell if it's a male or female. So some sharks do lay egg cases, not all of them, but some sharks lay egg cases, and you can see inside that little baby shark, right, wriggling around. They've got an egg case, just like if anyone had a chicken egg for breakfast. There's a yolk inside there that nourishes the baby until it's ready to hatch out. Now, the mothers do not sit on a nest. They don't guard the eggs or take care of them like in birds. They lay the egg cases, put them under some rocks, corals, attach them to the kelp, and they leave. They're done. And when that little baby's ready, it will hatch out. Now, that egg case is hard to act as a protective case, but certainly there's no mother around to defend them, and other things will find them and try to eat them. And right there, you can see that little horn shark that's hatching out of a kind of a different shaped egg case, because it will kind of be shoved into the corals or the rocks to keep it safe. And technology is really, really incredible. Think of all the things that you can do with phones now. Well, if any of you have ever seen an ultrasound from a human baby, then we can actually do ultrasounds on sharks now, except the machinery is waterproof. Sharks are in the water, and so, or even on the boat, it's splash proof, but there are also ones that can be fully submersed while someone is scuba diving and the shark swims over. And what you'll see inside, and this is actually a baby tiger shark. So you can see there's the face, the mouth, they will have teeth. So really, really incredible. That's for sharks that do not lay egg cases. Some sharks give birth to live young, and they can be attached and get nourishment in a couple different ways, but one of them is they actually can have an umbilical cord connecting them to their mother, just like we did. So that little line you're seeing on this lemon shark is its belly button. Now, it's actually an umbilical scar. They don't have it their whole life like we have our belly buttons, but it does show that this shark was born alive and then it broke free and left that little scar. And by the time they're about a year, a little over a year, it's going to be completely gone. But pretty incredible, because when most people think of sharks, they certainly do not think of belly buttons. And this little lemon shark is alive. It's just flipped over in a sleep-like state called tonic immobility. And sometimes we do this when we're taking measurements, certain types of tags, or taking blood. And it's kind of like natural anesthesia for the shark. They're not feeling anything that's going on. And then we can flip them back over and they swim on their way. Gills are how sharks breathe, like fish, but instead of that one opening on each side, sharks will have five, six, or seven. Now, most sharks only have five, and those that have 6 and 7 are called 6 and 7 gill sharks. So the water goes in their mouth, they're pulling oxygen out, and then the water is going to come out these openings on the side. And most of the species you've seen before are going to have 5 on each side. You can see in there that mako on the left, what it looks like in the mouth. And think of filtering. Whales, baleen whales, will filter the water and food in, just like this whale shark you can see here. And so the water's going in and filtering through and then coming out these openings on the side. Now, some sharks have to keep swimming to stay alive. It's called ram ventilation. They're ramming the water, shoving the water in their mouth by moving forward with their mouth open. Right? So you can see, even though it's only open a little bit, water can come in. And this means the shark has to be swimming the oceanic white tip its entire life. Imagine if everything you were doing today, from breakfast to reading, writing, English, science, math, homework, everything you were doing, you had to be walking around, even taking a nap or going to sleep, right? It had to be done while you're constantly walking around. That's what these animals have to do in order to breathe. They have to be moving forward. Now, some of them we've seen, think about a bike. If you pedal and then you stop pedaling, but you still coast. So some of them will swim up and then kind of coast downward. So they're not actually physically like swimming, but they're gliding and still getting water in their mouth. Other sharks can buccal pump. They can suck the water in and move it over their gills. The lemon shark on the top and their shark on the bottom are happily sitting there, just sucking the water in and moving it across their gills. There's a lemon shark. And the current will be flowing towards the shark. They'll position themselves so the water is flowing towards them and opening and closing their mouth. And that's the sides as the water's coming in and out. So if we're talking about sharks, we have to talk about teeth. This is why people are afraid of sharks. And yes, they do have teeth. Teeth are very, very important for these animals. They do not have hands, fishing poles, restaurants, refrigerators. Their teeth are how they grab their food and eat it. I will apologize, guys. My dog is moaning at me. She wants attention. So if you hear an odd, strange noise in the background, it is my dog moaning at me for attention. So a lot of times people say, oh, sharks eat everything. They're mindless eating machines. Wrong. Sharks have favorite foods just like we do. And everything from their body shape to their teeth can tell us a lot about what they eat, because it's designed specifically to help them eat certain things. So the nurse shark on the top left, think of a tip of a pencil. They have lots of tiny teeth because they actually have suction, and then they can crush things. So if you were going to eat a Jolly Rancher or hard candy, you're not going to try and break it with your front teeth. You're probably going to break a tooth, but you might slide it to the back, those big molars, to be able to break it. All right, so think of that for the nurse shark. So they're crushing things. They can grab at it and then crush it. The tiger shark down in the bottom left has serrations. Think of a kitchen knife that I can saw through a turtle shell. Bottom right is a lemon shark, a fork for grabbing at fish. And the top right with that gorgeous smile is the cookie cutter shark. So they're a small shark that swims up to much bigger animals and just takes a chunk out. And it looks like someone took a cookie cutter sized bite. So there you can see on that yellowfin tuna what it looks like. Conch are a big snail that we have here in the Bahamas, and nurse sharks can actually suck them out of the shell and then crush them. Turtles, and then of course fish. Sharks also eat marine mammals, sea snakes, birds, crabs, squid, a wide variety, and some species eat a much wider variety than others. Tiger sharks eat everything from mammals, turtles, birds, and fish, kind of scavengers, or eat a lot of different things. where other sharks may have a much smaller specific diet. And you'll notice their jaw and teeth are a little bit different than ours. Their teeth are not actually attached in the same way. So this is a lemon shark. As it's moving forward and biting, it's actually extending the front of its jaw a bit to grab at that fish. If you've seen videos of a goblin shark, they can actually put it way out. It's incredible. So that's something, an adaptation that's helped them as they're swimming along, just give that little bit of extra distance to grab at that fish. And their teeth come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. We mentioned the 4 species earlier, but this is just to show you. And you can actually check out the Sharks for Kids website. We have an activity where you can learn which each of these are and identify and challenge yourself to see if you can figure out which ones they are. But you'll notice they are very, very different shaped. And just looking at that, you can think about what they're eating. Right? So they're definitely not eating the same thing. And you can know that even if you don't know the species or what they're eating, you can look at this and go, I bet they eat different things. Think of a fork versus a knife versus a spoon. We don't use them for the same thing. And they'll have rows and rows and rows and rows of teeth. So sharks are always producing new teeth. We lose our baby teeth and then get our adult teeth, and that's it. We have to take really good care of them. Sharks don't have to worry about that because as long as they're alive, their body is producing new teeth. And just like a conveyor belt, they're moving forward and replacing the other ones. So this video shows you as they're moving forward, they fall out and again and again. Something like a lemon shark, which can live up to 40 years, can have up to 30,000 teeth in its lifetime. But those teeth are really, really important. Again, this is how sharks get their food and they eat it. Fins, just a quick review of the names of the fins. So the dorsal fin is that one on the top, probably the most famous because it sometimes sticks out of the water when sharks are swimming near the surface. Sharks will have 1 or 2 of those. The caudal fin or the tail fin at the back, number 3. 4 is an anal fin. 5 are their pelvic fins. And 6 are their pectoral fins. And they use their fins to steer, move up and down, get lift, make turns. Right? Very strong animals, and their fins are very, very important for helping them move through the water. All right, so take a moment and think about this. Now, you're either going to think, yeah, they have the same 5 senses we do, or do they have less, or do they have more? Right? Well, the answer is they actually have more than we do, but they do have the exact same 5 senses we do. So yes, sharks have ears. That's the one that people are always really surprised about. And they have excellent hearing. They can hear a better range of noise than we can. The ear is entirely inside the head, though. They don't have an external part. It's just a tiny opening. Their nares or their nostrils are only used for smell. So when you get a cold and you're stuffed up, all right, and you have to breathe through your mouth because your nose is all plugged, you're like a shark, right? They only use those for smell. They do not breathe through their nose. Right? Their eyes are incredible, very similar to our human eyes, excellent vision. And they also have taste, but it's different. The taste receptors are different than what we have, but they do have the sense of taste. Just some different distances. No, sharks cannot smell a drop of blood from a mile away. It's the closest approximation that I think is most accurate is probably if you had a normal size swimming pool and you put a spoonful of blood in there. That's about the distance. Now, if you have a big dead whale that's putting off a lot of smell, yes, they're going to be able to smell that from a bit further because it's a much bigger scent trail, right? But they're not certainly coming from miles away for a drop of blood or if you cut yourself in the water. Sound also travels faster in water. So we talked about ears. There's actually a lot of noise underwater, fish eating, movements, things like that, and they can cue into that. So a little bit more, there's the ear. You can see it there. This little tiger shark's gonna come say hello to the camera, and I just want you to notice the freckles. Okay, and then there's that a little bit of a wink. You can see all those dots. And then the great hammerhead is going to come up as well, and you'll notice those dots again. Nice smile for the camera. So those dots are called the ampullae of Lorenzini. Big long name after the guy who discovered them. And this is often referred to as shark's sixth sense. Those tiny black dots are not freckles. They're actually filled with a gel that can detect the heartbeat of an animal. Electroreception. So they're detecting muscle movements and heartbeats. Right now, all of us, our heart is beating, right? That is giving off a pulse of electricity. And a shark can actually feel that. So say a stingray or a fish is buried in the sand, the shark might not hear it, see it, or smell it, but when it gets close, it can actually feel its heartbeat. Think of a metal detector scanning the bottom, but instead of looking for buried treasure or lost jewelry, they're looking for lunch. And they're placed all around the snout because that's where the mouth is. So when they figure out where that animal is, it's right there by the mouth, ready for them to eat. And this is an image, again, using a high-powered microscope. Those are not balls of string. Those are the ampullae of Lorenzini, and there are the dermal denticles. Really, really incredible sense that helps sharks also navigate around magnetic fields that the Earth is giving off because they're feeling that. So when we see these beautiful long migration patterns, and they're very, very similar, they don't have a GPS on the phone. There are no road signs or ocean signs. They're using magnetic fields to actually navigate that migration route. And the other one is the lateral line. The red dots show where it is on the body of the shark. These are pores that can feel movement. So think of if I brought a fan in your classroom today and turned it on, even if your eyes were closed, you could point in the direction of the fan because you're going to feel the breeze. It's either on the top of your head or it's beside you. You don't have to see the air to feel it. Well, sharks aren't feeling air, but they're feeling the water moving around them. All right, so same five senses we do, but they have these other ones which are really helpful for them to navigate, but also to find food. So I'm just going to share a couple of what I think are really, really interesting adaptations that these animals have. And adaptations are something that an animal can do, either structural, behavioral, or physiological, right? How it looks, how it's shaped, how it acts, or some maybe chemical reactions that are happening inside that help these animals survive. And sharks, in my opinion, have some of the coolest adaptations in the animal world. Right? Super speed. Mako is the fastest shark in the ocean, right? And you can kind of look at its teeth, right? Built for speed, 45 miles per hour. This time you're in the car with somebody, you could look at the speedometer and think, wow, I'm swimming as fast as a Mako shark. It always surprises me how fast that actually is. Glowing. Yes, some sharks can glow in the dark, and I think this is probably my favorite shark fact. So these little swell sharks are human eyes. See that little brown shark at the bottom? But if we were swell sharks, we could see the top image, right? So they're absorbing blue light and reflecting out green. And it was special cameras that were used to figure this out. And this was only discovered a few years ago. And scientists think this might be a way they communicate with each other. Sharks cannot make noise. They can't chirp, tweet, howl, growl, bark, but we know they communicate. So how do they do that? So think of sign language, but having glow sticks and moving them around in a certain way to communicate what you're trying to say. Really, really interesting. And again, using special cameras to actually capture this. So, I mean, glowing animals, no matter what type of animal, but to see a shark that glows like this, really, really incredible. Amazing camouflage. Not every shark is big, right? Most species of shark are 5 feet in length or less, including the angel shark on the top left, the wobbegongs in the opposite corners, and that little cat shark on the bottom right. So because they're smaller, yes, they can use camouflage to hide out from predators, bigger animals, but they can also use it to hide from their lunch. So this angel shark is burying itself in the sand. It has spiracles or openings just behind the eye that actually water can go into for them to get oxygen. And this shark will wait. And it can wait and wait and wait for a long time for food to swim by. And when it does, it's going to happen really fast and then it'll be slowed down. So make sure you're watching the fish. Right? And slower. Right? So that shark was waiting very, very patiently, and that big mouth opened super fast and grabbed its fish. So it is not built for speed. It's not chasing down animals. It's waiting for food to swim by. And very powerful, very strong great whites can actually breach or leap out of the water. Other species can do this as well, but we're talking about the great white here. And they can do this to chase down and capture seals and sea lions. You can watch the video. It's impressive that this animal that's over 1,000 pounds can get its body out of the water like that. We as humans could never swim and burst out of the water like that. We're just not strong enough to do it. Even if you had fins on, it'd be kind of this sad little flop that we could do. All right. But extremely powerful, amazing athlete. All right. So, why are we talking about this and why are sharks important? Well, like other animals, in whether you're talking on land or in the water, they play an important role. Some of them are apex predators, which means they're at the top of the food chain. But not all of them, but no matter where they are, they do eat other animals. And we think about keeping the ecosystems balanced, it means not too many of one fish or not enough of another. So they're a really, really important role in their ecosystem, especially those that are apex predators. Biodiversity, keeping reef systems, for example, healthy by allowing all the different populations of other animals on that reef, from the corals to the fish, to thrive and survive. Think of them like managers, making sure everybody's doing their job. When you have sharks on reefs like this, you have a lot of biodiversity, or a lot of different species that are thriving there. And this is really, really important because these communities, a lot of those animals rely on each other to be successful, from food, habitats, all of that. It's all connected. When we talk about the importance of sharks, biodiversity and how they help that is one of the big things that they do for ecosystems. Right. They also, I'm going to go back one more thing. They also eat other fish, injured, sick, dying, dead, which is a big part of keeping those ecosystems balanced, healthy, and clean. So this is important because the oceans need to be clean, healthy, and balanced. I'm not talking about clean like cleaning up the pollution. They're not doing that. It's not their job. They shouldn't have to. Talk about that in just a minute. But it's a reason why we want to see sharks in the oceans. We need healthy oceans, and healthy oceans need sharks. So that means we need sharks. But unfortunately, sharks are in big trouble. Sharks are killed for their fins, which are used to make a soup. They're also killed for their meat. People eat shark. They're killed for souvenirs. Plastic pollution is a big problem as well. So because of this, over 100 million sharks are actually killed by humans every single year. Now, this number is from a study that was done quite a few years ago, so it's probably higher than that now. 100 million. Flashback, we talked about sharks having babies, not spawning, right? Sharks have very few offspring. It takes them a long time to be mature enough to reproduce, to breed and reproduce, and they don't have a lot of offspring. They don't have lots of babies. Some sharks lay one egg case. A great white has to be 25 to 30 years old before it can reproduce. It has to survive that long. Okay? So, because of these life history traits, it makes these animals extremely vulnerable. They're not having millions of babies every single year. So, that number is actually affecting their populations. So over 1/3 of all sharks and rays are actually threatened with extinction. And there's a lot of text on here, but what it's saying is overfishing is driving most of that. But we're also seeing, and overfishing, they're caught as a targeted species. People are directly going out for sharks. They're caught as bycatch, means I'm trying to catch this one thing, but I'm catching all these other things. For example, on that line you can see at the top, there are sharks, but there's also a manta ray. There might be dolphins, turtles, birds on those lines. Those are bycatch. Climate change, habitat loss, pollution. These are all things that are affecting the habitats these animals live in, the food sources, the water changing their migration patterns. And so, for all of this, many species are now threatened with extinction. This is a big, beautiful great white. We started with a great white, and we're going to finish with that. This is Ropey. Ropey is wearing some fishing gear that has actually embedded into the back gill slit. Right? Divers were able to cut most of this off, but the rest of it, the damage is done. It's kind of grown in. Imagine a dog, puppy, you put a collar on and it grew and it got really, really tight. That's what's happened to this shark. So this big, powerful animal we saw breaching out of the water, right, cannot outcompete, despite all its amazing adaptations, outcompete what humans are doing to the oceans. Fishing gear, trash, pollution, overfishing, all of that. So when we think about things that end up in the ocean having an impact, every bit of it does. They might swallow the plastic, they're getting tangled in it. So our impacts, no matter where we live, can affect the ocean, can affect sharks in a good way or a bad way. So no matter where you're watching from, there's a lot of things that you can actually do, and sharks certainly need your help. They are not man-eating monsters. Humans are killing about 100 million every single year. On average, 5 to 10 humans die from shark bites. Not being consumed by a shark, but by bites, injuries happen, and then this person doesn't survive the injuries. All right, 5 to 10, 100 million. Shark bites are very, very, very rare, but we see all these things saying they're monsters and man eaters on the news, in books, TV, movies. And I want you guys to think about the facts. Sharks are important, interesting, amazing animals. Yes, they're wild animals. They always deserve our respect, but they play an important role and we need them in our oceans. So, one, you learned about sharks today. Share something you learned, right? Share a fun fact with your family, an adult in your life that might be afraid, or maybe you were afraid of sharks and now you've learned some different things, right? Make a poster, do a video. Write a poem, create a dance, anything that a creative way to share this information with other people. Using less plastic. Plastic is bad news for the whole planet, right? Obviously, yes, there's good uses of plastic, but single-use plastic that's ending up on our beaches, there's a lot of ways, from reusable water bottles, canvas grocery bags, reusable silverware, coffee cups, things like that, that either you can use or encourage the adults in your life to use. Picking up trash when you see it, no matter where you live, because it can end up in the ocean. And finally, avoiding shark products. So, what do I mean by that? Well, shark is actually found in, either it's just sold as meat, and there's some health concerns that can be associated with eating shark, some toxins that are found in it. It can be found in dog food, dog treats. The oil from their liver is found in makeup, lipsticks, lotions. So, avoiding those products if you can is a good idea to help these animals. All right, so awesome, important animals for healthy oceans for us. They're not man-eating monsters and they need your help. So do you guys have any questions for me about sharks or working with them?
Thank you so much. What a fabulous presentation. I also learned a few new things, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Why is the hammerhead your favorite?
So they are so different than other sharks. I mean, look at this thing. Like, how can you not be amazed at that? And they're just a super powered shark. They have more of those ampullae. They have super powered vision, right? You might think, oh, they can't see anything because their eyes are out there. Wrong. They can see almost all the way around, above and below. And I've just had some really incredible moments diving with them. They are a critically endangered species. So if we don't share, learn, teach others about this animal, it will be gone. It will be gone in my lifetime, possibly, and you guys, if we don't do things to protect these animals. And the time is now. And so if I can be any part in that and share my story of working with these animals and how incredible they are, I will do everything I can. And just such a fascinating creature, not like anything else I've ever encountered. So, yeah, just such a beautiful, beautiful animal.
Nice. So the next question is, what got you interested in studying sharks?
So I grew up in Maine, and I went in the water a lot, went to the beach a lot with my parents, and just loved the ocean, crawling through tide pools and finding whatever I could. And we went to Florida for my dad's work every year. And so when I was 8, I actually snorkeled with an earth shark for the first time. It was amazing. There were manatees too. I saw all this stuff. I was super excited. So I went to the library and got books out on sharks and to learn more. Um, and I was just fascinated. And then the older I got, and started diving with sharks and learning more, my experience was very different from what I was being taught and told. They're monsters, they're scary, you're crazy to go see them or work with them. And that was not what I was experiencing. So I think I just have always had this fascination with them, which then turned into I want to teach others about them because they're so misunderstood and there's so much information about sharks that's wrong. So let's share facts and get people, engaged and inspired to want to be part of actually helping these animals.
Fantastic. Great. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Lemonade Project?
Yes. So Project Lemonade, called that. My husband came up with the name. We are seeing juvenile lemon sharks, baby, like newborns. So we know that they are born in the spring months on a high tide full moon. The mothers will actually go back to the place they were born to give birth, kind of like sea turtles and salmon. And so we're working in Turks and Caicos, an area where sharks are still caught. They're targeted, so there are no protections for them there. And so we went in, we got invited in to study this particular population to try and understand what's happening, how fishing is having an impact on it, also, certain areas in the mangroves are nursery areas. I mentioned that earlier. So maybe getting more marine protected or areas established to protect them, certainly when. And so we catch them, we tag them, we take our measurements, and then when we return each year, hopefully we catch them again. And when we do, it's really exciting because we see how much they've grown. We see if they've moved to a new area. And yeah, you can definitely check out the website sharksforkids.com with the number 4. And we have a section all about it. You can see images, videos to learn a bit more.
Nice. All right. Are you currently working on any other research?
I am not. That is my main focus. So we do have students go out shark tagging in Florida, and so we do participate in kind of a survey or study, population assessment, population dynamics, and looking at the seasonality of certain species in South Florida with the Guy Harvey Research Institute. So we do some of our team, sometimes myself, if I get lucky, get to go out and work on that. But yeah, Project Lemonade is my primary research focus right now. And we're kind of expanding the project. We're going to be doing different tags, looking at some larger lemon sharks, which is exciting. So yeah, the project's growing and expanding, which I'm really excited about.
Nice. Okay, last question is you talked about how um I don't know if it was the shark liver, but can show up in health and beauty products. What is it called? So if folks are looking at labels, wanting
Yeah.
to buy that new makeup or that new lotion or whatnot, that they can think twice before purchasing.
Yeah. So it's the oil that the liver produces and it's squalene. Now, it's ENE, but you will see some products that are doing squalane now. It can be, this is a lot of times plant derived. It can be done from sugarcane as an alternative. So a lot of vegan products will do that. So there are alternatives. It's actually not necessary to use this. And it tends to be deep sea species that are targeted, which are also species that we don't know as much about because we don't have the access to them. Most scientists don't have submarines. They just get to go down and study all the time. Very expensive, very time consuming. So a lot of times the species that are being targeted for that are we don't actually know a lot about, which is scary if you're kind of taking that animal from the ocean in large quantities, and you don't actually know what their populations are doing. So there are vegan or non-animal alternatives, but it is squalene. And you can look up, I think if you Google, there's lists of products that actually have it in it.
Mhm.
And also the other thing too is if you're looking at fish, if it's white fish or just, it doesn't say the specific fish. Um, yeah, you can question that because sometimes it could be shark, or shark could be mislabeled. So I think a good point of advice is just to ask, if you are having fish or fish products, ask what it is, where it was caught, how it was caught, things like that. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions about the products you're buying or the food you're eating.
Great. All right. Well, those were our questions. And
Thank you.
again, Jillian, thank you so much. We will be posting the recording on our YouTube channel in addition to some resources from Sharks for Kids. And just again, Jillian, thank you so much. Just a fabulous presentation. Learned a lot in this short time together. So with that, we'll end the webinar and see everyone later.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for joining. Have a great day. Thank
Bye.
you.